Illinois, it's the Chicago Blackhawks and the Toronto Maple Leafs, live on CHCH.
The Leafs on CHCH, brought to you by Molson. Nothing halfway about.
Chicago Blackhawks hit home clearly on the limp. Having gone 15 in a row winless on the road, they have lost 8 straight. Their woes began 3 weeks ago in November on the road out west. They lost in LA and were swept in Alberta by Edmonton and Calgary. In a December not to remember, the losing streak continued as they continued on the road, losing in St. Louis, Detroit, and Boston. They were beaten by Buffalo at home and then lost again last night at Landover, Maryland. Mike Gartner scores his 17th goal on the year. Gustafson and Galley drawing assists. This goal early in the second period made 2-1 the score. Denny Savard, who has just 2 in his last 14 games, thought he had scored to tie it, but the play was ruled dead. And about an hour later, the pronouncement was the same for the Blackhawks as they were felled. The final score, 2-1. Meanwhile, at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, a spectacular goal for Al Iafrate as he races to the loose puck. John Van Beesbrook can't get there in time. Iafrate scores his 14th on the year. He leads all defensemen in Toronto to a win, 4-3 over New York. A look at the North Division standings illustrates the significance of this game. Toronto's in second, just 4 points ahead of Chicago in a traditional 4-pointer. One team is hot, the other is not, as the Chicago Blackhawks play host to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Good evening, I'm Ron Maclean. The Leafs have got it rolling, having won 2 in a row. Some of their best performers, Russ Courtnall has a 9-game point-scoring streak, and Mirko Freecher has 5 goals in 4 games. As for the Chicago Blackhawks, they return home having lost 8 in a row, but they know this is an important stretch. 7 of their next 9 games are against Norris rivals, and so far this year, they're 6-4 in their own division. That's the best among Norris teams. Joining me here in Chicago tonight to provide the play-by-play and analysis of this game, and both are clearly happy to be here, Harry Neale and Erik Tomas. In our intermissions this evening, I'll chat with former Toronto Maple Leaf Steve Thomas, who's been injured for much of this season in Chicago. In fact, he's played just 1 full game. And you'll also meet Toronto Maple Leaf Mark Osborne and get to know what's making him tick in his hometown. In our second intermission, the hottest new video in Chicago features the Bears and the Blackhawks, and we'll update you on scores elsewhere around the NHL. Up next, it's the Hawks and the Leafs live on CHCH.